This is Athletes as Educators with former pro basketball player, championship winning coach, and author Angela R. Lewis. Angie Lewis interviews current and former athletes who are passionate about sharing the lessons they've learned and the experiences that have shaped their lives. A resource for parents, a guide for student athletes, a source for current and former athletes, keys to transition off the court. Welcome to the Athletes as Educators podcast with Angela R. Lewis.
Welcome to this episode of Athletes as Educators. I'm your host, Angie Lewis. On the podcast today, we have Malcom Waters. Malcom played college football at the University of Charleston. He then worked for the Washington Wizards, has worked for the Orange Bowl, some Fortune 500 companies, but we're most excited to hear about Malcom and 360 Professional Sports Image, his new sports agency. Malcom, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Angie.
Well, Malcom and I met at a football camp, ironically. Y'all know I'm a basketball player, but we met at this football camp where we were teaching kids about ACT prep. And we both have this passion for helping youth. Malcom, will you talk a little bit about how you got connected with this camp and how that flows into what you're doing now?
Absolutely. So I have to say thanks to a good friend of mine, Caleb Thornhill. Him and I crossed paths while we were attending Nova Southeastern University, looking to obtain our master's in business administration. And we found out we had some synergies working in sports, playing on the field. And from there, we were able to kind of gravitate towards each other and find out about each other's background and really understand we had one major common goal, which was to pretty much impact the world through our background and experiences through sports, but mostly being able to touch the lives of young men and women through sports. So he runs a camp that focuses on athletic development, scholastic development, personal development, and he asked me to attend because I've had some of those personal experiences that I could share with the youth and act as a mentor at that particular camp. At the time, it was 4th and 1. Now it's transitioned to Apex Academy, and I was very honored due to the fact that the people with the backgrounds who attended that camp that year came from different backgrounds, different experiences, and it was just a great opportunity to be amongst some great people. So Angie and I were able to meet each other and definitely share our passion within sports and how we work in sports and use our background and experiences to really impact the world. So now I'm here sharing my background and experiences over the last 5 to 10 years of kind of where I am at to this point now.
Yeah, thank you for that backdrop. So this camp was amazing, y'all. I interviewed Caleb a little while ago. I think his was actually episode number 2. And this camp used football as its platform. But the beauty of it, like Malcom said, is it brought all these people together who are amazing from all over the country to help some young men up in Michigan. Malcom, can you tell us about when you first started playing football and when you fell in love with the game?
Well, I started playing football. Well, I fell in love with the game. I think I was in first grade or either kindergarten or first grade. And I remember being in after-school care. So it's pretty long ago. And running about 50 yards in an after-school, person threw me a long, bomb or pass. And I caught it. And I realized that I love the game of football from there. I actually started playing organized football at the age of 10 years old. And I'll give a shout out to the North Miami Beach Sun Devils in Miami. And from there, I started playing organized football. I mean, at that time, I loved football, but I was still trying to get committed and focused. And then from there, my first year was great, but then my second year ended up being MVP, and then it kind of just took off from there. But my mom put me in football because she felt like it would give me certain characteristics and attributes that would make me disciplined and focused and create drive and determination and motivation when you focus on something that you're actually participating in.
Well, absolutely. Sports does that for so many young people. And I love to hear why people fell in love with the game and when they first started. because it really drives who they are now and what they do. It sounds like when you became MVP, like everything changed for you, right?
Yeah, you know what? It did, because my first year, it was cool to be on the team, but I don't know, I still wasn't used to, going to practice every day, working out, running every single day. You have a young mind, so you're at the time it's being kind of prepped for, being focused at something that you're participating in. So I think my second year, that's when I realized that I really had a skill set that I could actually that could be blossomed, and from there, winning. I think awards, accolades, or just people acknowledging your ability actually drives you to do more. And I think that's what was allowed me to kind of continue playing, I guess, organized sports.
Yeah, absolutely. And you begin to experience some success. So like no one wakes up and they're a great player. You put in some work and you got to grinding and you were able to experience success, which made you fall in love with it and you begin to like it more. Like we see that happen all the time.
Absolutely.
With young athletes. That's how it starts for all of us. Will you talk a little bit about the work you're doing now and your sports agency and how you're working to help these young men who are transitioning from college to the pros prepare for life?
Yeah, absolutely. So the name of our sports management firm is 360 Professional Sports Image, and the 360 pretty much talks about, it really represents the holistic approach that we're looking to work with new professional athletes, being able to give them the opportunity to not only work in professional sports, but also have opportunity to create multiple streams of revenue, give back to the community, create a long-term, short, mid, and long-term goals for themselves, just not on the field, but off the field as well. So being able to develop nonprofits, being able to develop different business plans so they can set themselves up for success, and really maximize an opportunity when they have the ability to play professional sports. So our goal is to really just create the 360 professional sports athlete and give them all the attributes to represent themselves in a professional manner.
So why is this so important to you? I mean, I remember the first time we talked about this and you were starting the agency and the sports management and you were like on fire. So this is more than just something that you wanted to do.
I didn't have the ability or the opportunity to go into professional sports, but I went to school to work in sports. And my passion is to work with young men to really maximize the opportunity. And when I look at just young athletes who have the opportunity to play professional sports, they do not always put the right people around them, make the best decisions, maximize the opportunity where they can be set up for life. And when you have a blessing or an opportunity, the ability, God-given ability to play professional sports, it's really about maximizing that point in time in your life where you want to make sure you capitalize. And the success stories of athletes maximizing that opportunity versus the one not maximizing, there's a skew with it. So our goal is to work with athletes who have the same vision and common goal and interest, and allowing us to consult them from a personal aspect. And we pride ourselves on being a boutique firm where we were going to develop a strong relationship with you and understand your wants, needs, and really consult you to make sure that we can set you up for life. In the corporate world, when I worked in the corporate world, I've done it for multi-million-dollar revenue businesses on a daily basis, and I kind of see that as an opportunity to take what I've learned in the corporate world and shed that light to an athlete, because their personal brand, when you walk into professional sports, you automatically become a business. Absolutely. So to be a successful business, you have to be run like a business, right? So you have to make calculated decisions. You have to forecast. You have to brand yourself appropriately, and you have to find ways to create sustaining long-term growth. When you start a business, you don't start a business to have the business for 2 or 3 years. You start the business to have it for your lifetime, and then actually leave to and allow it to be passed on to your family, your friends, or will it to somebody. So that's our goal. And when we spoke some years ago, it's been probably 10 years in the making to get to this point. From networking, finding the right people to partner with, as well as making sure all ducks were in a row to hit the start button. So now we're in a point in time where this is our first year and we're getting off the ground, and we've had some accelerated success year to date.
Now that's awesome, man. Congrats on your success thus far. I want to talk a little bit about what you just mentioned about personal brand. I think now more than any other time in history, athletes are definitely in a fishbowl, and people are watching, from social media to the web presence to everything being put on display from everything that you do. How can younger athletes take control of their personal brands, and how important is it for them to start making those decisions early on as they plan and prepare for their careers?
Well, I'll take it one more step. I'll take it outside of just being an athlete. Just in general, you have a personal brand that people see. So your brand is when people see you. Your character is when people don't see you, right? And when you have a brand, you want to make sure that you're leaving a lifelong impression. So ultimately, first impressions are everything, and being able to carry yourself in an appropriate manner so that when you're not around, people say great things about you. When you're speaking from a professional sports perspective, or just when you're coming up from the high school to college, I would say from high school to college, I've seen, and just with social media, athletes have. They are in a volatile market at this point, just due to the fact that with social media can create negative publicity, and you have these young men who aren't really prepped and primed to move into college yet. So when they make mistakes on social media, either throwing up gang signs or putting certain language on social media or certain pictures, can tarnish your brand. And there's been situations where major athletes have lost out on major opportunities with top colleges due to the fact that what you brand out there on social media automatically becomes a representation of yourself. And if you think about just online, anything that you put online is going to be online forever. And even if you delete it, it's going to be there somewhere, somehow. And there's a lot of technology out there to be able to bring that to light. So I think branding starts when you're just in your interpersonal. But when you're an athlete, I think it's actually heightened, especially when you have the ability to capture scholarships, either being football, basketball, baseball. And when those opportunities are warranted, now that's another aspect in the college recruiting now that is being, scrutinized to make sure you're bringing in the right character person that would fit into your program. So then when you transition from college to professional sports, and of course there's only a small percentage of athletes who get the opportunity to do that, now we're talking about the ability to monetize that. So from a branding standpoint, how do you fit the brand of this particular business? And how do we monetize that? So if you bring a unique brand that represents a Gatorade or Nike or Reebok, Adidas, how do we monetize that? How do they fit in the brand? How do they capture market share when it comes to their personality, their characteristics, their athletic ability? So if you're an athlete, a top tier athlete, but you have done suspect things in your background, you've gotten in trouble with the law, the ability to create multiple streams of revenue becomes limited because your brand is now tarnished, right?
Absolutely.
So now, from a characteristic standpoint, when you think about that, now we have to do damage control. And realistically, when we go back to brand equals opportunity to create multiple streams of revenue, creating a 360 athlete, professional athlete, we're speaking of being able to have this this brand that's going to allow us to create long-term growth. And when you think about a business, let's just talk about Chipotle, right? Chipotle just had significant amount of problems with their pork, I think. I'm sure it did significant damage to the brand, to the revenue that was driven into the business. And of course, now that social media is so prevalent, it's not going anywhere, right? So people are reminded on a daily basis. You may have a friend and you may tell them on Twitter, Facebook, I'm going to Chipotle, and I can only imagine how many remarks you would get back stating that why would you go to Chipotle, because you might have the opportunity to get sick.
Right.
So when you kind of just, I guess when you kind of pivot back to just a professional athlete, the things that you do, they stay with you, and it makes it harder for us to work for you as a firm and just in general, So this is my take on that a little bit.
No, but you're absolutely on point with that, because everything that everything that's put out there on social media, it doesn't exist. I'm sorry, it doesn't go away. So even if you push delete, it doesn't matter if you don't see it. Like, to your point, someone can get that technology and can retrieve everything that's written. So we have to be really, really clear, especially young athletes, because you don't want to miss opportunities when they arise.
Absolutely.
I love the fact that you guys are working with athletes and thinking long term beyond their playing days. What we know is for a lot of athletes, it's really difficult to transition out of sports because you have been an athlete for so long. Will you talk a little bit about your transition from playing college football into going into corporate? Like, how did you make the decision on what to do next when you were finished?
Good question. So I think it starts by surrounding yourself with the right people. Myself, I come from a good family home. However, when you're in college, you're independent and you have to make decisions for yourself. And it's really about what decisions you're going to make going forward. And I actually had the privilege to meet someone who had my best interest. And he created opportunities for internships and, career development and interviewing opportunities.
So you had internships while you were in undergrad?
Yeah, I did. And I think that was really good for me, just due to the fact that they gave me the ability to see what it was like to work in the corporate world and what the expectations were and how to carry myself, but also be able to kind of develop a strategic game plan going forward of where I wanted to see myself either working in the sports industry or in the corporate world. So this particular person, she was acted as a mentor, but she was the head of the career development division at my university. So she, we went over interviewing skills and positioned me to have those internships that allow me to build my resume to get better internships, right? So the only way you're going to get good internships if you have somewhat of a background that'll allow you to create that opportunity for yourself. So as I was in college, I started, building my resume so I could move into the corporate world seamlessly.
So when you were in college, did you already have an idea of what you wanted to do when you were finished?
I knew I wanted to work in the sports industry. Anyone watching this right now, if you want to work in the sports industry and you're majoring in sports management, make sure you keep yourself diverse and make sure you have a business, a major, or a minor or a major in business as well. I always say keep yourself as diverse as possible so you can be flexible. I initially wanted to work in sports full time, and I had the opportunity to do that. But by making sure that I could be flexible with my major, with majoring in business as well, allowed me to transition in the corporate world seamlessly once I stopped working for the Orange Bowl committee.
So I'm blown away by this, and maybe I just wasn't thinking straight when I was in undergrad, but like I didn't have internships at all. Like I didn't even consider them. I didn't even realize that I would have time to do them. Mm-hmm. And so when I talk to former athletes who are in college, I always wondered, like, how did you decide to do internships? Was it required for your major? Because for me, like, ball was everything. Like, that's all I cared about. I just wanted to keep playing. And so anything outside of that, I wasn't trying to hear it. So when did you decide that you needed internships? What made you go to career services? You know, like, what was your thought process?
It was going downhill. I mean, I was getting ready to graduate. I knew I had a year left. I knew I wasn't going to the pros. I know I probably could have tried out for the NFL or the CFL or arena at that. And I knew that my senior year was going to be my last year of football, and that it was going to be time to hit the ground running. And I needed to make sure I needed to be prepared. So I sought out career services to make sure I had the skill set and the right opportunities to be able to transition. And I'll kind of go a little bit further. So I think my major did require an internship, or maybe a couple of hours to work with, I guess, a couple companies in my industry. I can't remember. It's so long ago. But
you're not that old. Whatever. You're not that old.
It's been a while. But 10 plus years out. But I will say this. The one internship led to more internships, and it gave me more determination of when I started to kind of build the game plan of where I really wanted to go. And then from there, as I started to get more motivated on, okay, the transition of my career and where I wanted to be, I actually submitted my candidacy for this internship program called the Washington Internships for Academic Seminar, the Washington Center for Academic Internships and Seminars. There you go. So this is a little tip because I didn't share this with you. This particular person, and this kind of goes back to mentors and surrounding yourself around the right people. She presented that opportunity to me, and if I didn't meet her, I probably wouldn't have gone. I would have never submitted my candidacy for this, and I probably wouldn't have ended up working for the Washington Wizards or the Orange Bowl. And it kind of accelerated that. So I think when you surround yourself with people who have your best interests or who've kind of been through it, who can kind of guide you, and that's kind of the premise on our sports management firm, guiding, right? Because of past experiences or the network of people that you have, so that you can instill that knowledge, so you can have people who aren't as educated or knowledgeable to make those calculated decisions for themselves. Because you never know what you have until you experience it. And it's all about, I guess, access or exposure, right, to something. So I actually received a $10,000 scholarship to move to Washington, D.C. And at the time, this internship program is really well renowned. It's in Washington, D.C. A lot of senators and people in politics have come through this particular internship program. A lot of major CEOs and CFOs and people in major Fortune 500 companies has come through this internship program. And I was fortunate to receive a $10,000 scholarship to go there. And it paid for my cost of living and to take one class at George Washington University. But I was out of 700 people, I was the only one in sports in sports management. So when you think about sports management, the opportunity is very limited. So initially, I wanted to work with a sports management firm, and I actually was warranted an opportunity to work with Octagon. Most people know that Octagon's a major sports management firm, global sports management firm. However, this internship program started in January, and they wanted me to start in March. And I was really upset, actually, because I really wanted to work for this firm, and I felt like that was my foot in the door. However, I had to pivot to the Washington Wizards. It was a great experience. And so a little bit about the internship program. You take a class at the Washington Center, at George Washington University, and it's either on leadership or management or some kind of business aspect that's going to be instrumental to your development in your career.
Okay.
And my goal was to get a full-time job while I was still in an internship program. And within, I guess, 3 weeks of being in an internship program working for the Washington Wizards, they actually offered me 2 jobs. Within 3 weeks of having an internship, they realized my skill set, my background experience, my drive and motivation, and they saw me as an asset for the Wizards at the time. So I took on a position while I was in this internship program. So I'm there for probably 3-4 months, and I'm really supposed to be interning, but I have a full-time job. I'm still taking the classes, and everybody's asking me, how did you get that job already? Well, when you have determination, a will for success, goals, ambition, and you set your mind to something, you can pretty much do it. I wouldn't say everything, but when the opportunity is there in sight, and you know that the ability to capitalize is realistic, I think if you put your head to it, you can kind of obtain that goal, and that was my goal to do that. So it was a lot of hate, it was a lot of there was a lot of students from all these major universities, Harvard, Yale, a lot of Ivy League schools, University of Tennessee, you name it, and they were just shocked. How could you get a job and you're supposed to be in this internship, and it's only been 3 weeks since we've been in this program? So I like to just throw that out there. Right. The only reason why I bring that up, because anyone who's watching this, it kind of just shows about when you put the right pieces of the puzzle together, the right game plan, and you kind of develop strategic vision, you can capitalize. So I just bring that up. And kind of show that, so anyone who's watching this can kind of know from my experience.
No, you're absolutely right, Malcolm. You're on point, and I think what's key is that you went to career services and you built a relationship with the woman in career services. The relationship's everything, because if she didn't know you, if she didn't like you, if she didn't trust you, then she wouldn't have made sure that you had access to this opportunity. So if you're in college and you're listening to this, be sure to get in contact with the people on your campus, because they know so many more resources that are available to you that you just don't even know exist. And you took that opportunity and then up-leveled the opportunity to create another pathway for you to experience what you wanted to experience with the Washington Wizards. I think that's dope.
Absolutely. And I will say this as well. And when you're playing just sports in general, it doesn't matter what division it is. I think, when you're on a basketball program, football program, baseball program, the coach's vision is for you to be an athlete, right? Yep. And I think they do a disservice to the athletes with not putting them in a position to take advantage of the career services. But I think at the end of the day, it's really about the individual person, about what they're seeking and what they're really wanting to take advantage. And I think it's up to them to seek that out. I don't think it's always on the shoulders of a program. Some people may disagree with me on this, but I think it's really about he was a person and seeking out where you want your life to go. So I think there has to be unique balance, where the athletic program points the athlete in the right direction, and then I think the athlete has to take advantage of the opportunity. And I think that's not always prevalent when you're playing athletic sports, especially in college.
I agree, and I want to challenge something real quick. So I'm blown away by what opportunities exist that I didn't even know existed when I was in college playing sports. So I think about where I grew up, city of St. Louis. My parents were super blue collar. Mom worked in the factory. Pops was a baker. And so you go to college. And I went to a really great school. And all I was thinking was ball. But I think about how many opportunities there are around sport or outside of sports that I didn't even know existed, right? And so you have tons of kids who come to college, and you have to go lift weights. You have to do practice. Like, there's all the stuff that you have to do. And I'm always blown away by the fact that it's not taken into consideration prepping you for life after. You know what I'm saying? At some colleges and universities. So what I want you to go down the list for a second, for those athletes who want to stay around sport, what are some careers around sport that exist?
There's a plethora, right? I think it's just really about what your skill set is. If you think about athletic development, from coaching to sports business, working for major sports organizations, I think it's really about where you see yourself going in the sports industry. I mean, there's a wide array when you talk about sports law and being able to represent. I wouldn't say you don't necessarily need a law degree to represent athletes, but sports law goes so much further when you talk about arbitration. And say, for instance, an athlete gets in trouble, and being able to arbitrate and hear the athlete's perspective versus the NFL's perspective, and being able to make an unbiased decision on whatever circumstances is being arbitrated on. Certain grievances, when it comes to the legal realm, when you have let's say the NFL Players Association, which is the union for the NFL, versus the NFL, the league itself, and being able to arbitrate on a decision when it comes to the collective bargaining agreement. So any kind of negotiations when it comes to money or the practice time. So that's maybe a realm of sports law you could entertain. Working in sports marketing and ticket sales, corporate sales. A lot of major Fortune 500 companies are looking for people with sports backgrounds to understand the sports arena and how sports athletes think. So they want to make sure they bring on the right people to market their products. So that's definitely an avenue when you talk about sponsorships, being able to bring in dollars for either universities or sports organizations and being able to get those corporate dollars. So that's another aspect. And then we can kind of go in the coaching world when it comes to high school coaching to college coaching, scouting, career development. They have several unique positions where I know that they're really focused on having a liaison that's going to be able to relate with the athlete, but also be able to guide them in a different direction, kind of like a career services, but it's closer to the program and helping them finding that opportunity for life after football. When I think about, athletic development, when we talk about training, right? Training athletes to move to the next level, or training athletes who want to be better high school athletes, or transition into college. But then you think about the exercise and physiology aspect of everything. When we're talking about health and fitness, I mean, there's a variety of opportunity within the sports industry. It's really about what your passion is. Mine's always been sports business. So when I got the football field, I was happy, to be honest with you. And I wanted to work in business and running up and down the field, doing gassers and running on the track. Yeah, I was good with that. I'm done. But, from a business aspect, being able to understand an athlete and understand how sports work, but also wanting to understand how the business aspect of things. So working for major organizations. So I had the opportunity to work for, at the time was the BCS, the Bowl Championship Series. It was the FedEx Orange Bowl at the time. Now it's it's the Capital One Orange Bowl game. Yep. I don't want to get sued or anything. There's multiple components when you're working for the bowl systems. They have all these major bowls out there that you could work for. Then we have, soccer, basketball. I mean, there's a variety of opportunity. However, everyone wants to do it. So if you want to be successful in the sports industry, you have to have a will about you that's going to separate you from everyone else to be successful. Absolutely. But if you think about it, there's, my experience was if it's something that you want to do and work in that industry, don't expect to be paid well early on, just due to the fact that everyone wants to do it. So therefore, that means there is a saturated market. Yeah. Therefore, you can be lowballed when it comes to working in sports. So if you have a passion and love and money is not the focal point of starting off your career, it's always great. I will say this. There's a lot of perks that offset the monetary side of things. So, when you start off in sports, you see a lot of perks. And I think when you start to really make some good money, just my experiences and what I've seen as far as some of the higher ups and the senior leaders in certain organizations that I've developed relationships with, as you start to gain some tenure within either organizations, universities, whatever direction you go in, that's when you start to make the bucks, right? Unless you're a professional athlete, and then you're making millions of dollars depending on what league you're playing in.
Right.
So it's a little, kind of my experience and kind of food for thought from what I've seen over the last 10 years or so.
Malcom, everything that you just laid out is the purpose of this podcast. I mean, you just ran off like 15, 20 professions that athletes can take who want to stay around the sport. And so I'm so appreciative that you're able to just run those off, because it's really going to help some athletes now. So there may be some athletes in college who are going to be graduating in a couple months, or there are people who are transitioning from playing professionally who are tuning in, who are thinking about their next steps. And so this Athletes as Educators podcast is all about the knowledge that you just dropped. So I appreciate that and appreciate
Absolutely.
you for that. What's some advice that you have for parents, right? Let's take it another step. We have a lot of parents out there who want to help their kids as they're going through this college process, and who have kids who are in college, who have children who are in college now. What's some advice you have for them?
I was going to do a shameless plug, but I'm not going to do it. Just some hints, a little humor there. You know what? I think it's really about developing a strategic game plan early on. I take things back to what kind of family I was raised in and what kind of knowledge my mom really knew, and she had no idea. I had millions of colleges hitting me up at the time. Letters, phone calls from college scouts, and she really didn't know how to navigate those waters. So I think in this day and age, 15 to 18 years later, the landscape's so different. You have firms out there, you have people. I think it's really about seeking out the knowledge. You could have easy access to the internet right now, where you can type in a question that you may have about college or how to go about the recruiting process. What questions you should ask certain colleges. I think it's really about developing a game plan for the parents, for the athlete. So I think there's a difference between athlete and student athlete, right? So if you just want an athlete, I think you're going about it the wrong way. It starts at an early age of creating the student athlete, so they're prepared from a scholastic standpoint and an athletic standpoint. And if you're going to be serious about the athletic part of the career, you need to be serious about the scholastic part of the career. So if you're getting additional training for your kid on the football, the basketball field, the basketball court, the baseball field, you need to be getting additional training for your athlete, your student, per se, as far as tutoring, additional classes, additional study time, making sure they have those grades, so when the opportunity presents itself, you can capitalize. There's many times that a lot of these parents just focus on the athletic perspective of the kid, and they don't have the grades, right? So I think you need to place a major emphasis on both. So I think that's the beginning, right? And then it's really about kind of doing your research on, how to do it. I mean, I don't think there's a blueprint or a book out there, but surrounding yourself or reaching out to certain people and maybe in your network. I always say, if you're in Little League, talk to some of the coaches there and kind of get their perspective, right? And then if you're going into high school, making sure you have a relationship with the high school coach. I think that's major. Being able to have some kind of communication level and understand where your kid is from an athletic standpoint, and being able to be able to take constructive criticism when it comes to your student, right? And know that either they have the ability to go far with their athletic skill set or not, right? But I think there definitely has to be an emphasis placed on both when it comes to scholastic as well as the athletic standpoint. And I think a lot of, and it's kind of sad to say, I don't want to go down that route, but
it's okay. We're having a real conversation. It's cool.
Yeah, no, it's when you think about just certain communities,
That's real.
The emphasis is not placed on that, and we have there are talented athletes out there that just don't. Their family structure or the people behind them aren't placing that emphasis on the other side of the spectrum, and those definitely need to be meshed as you go through, because if you're instilling those characteristics on a scholastic standpoint, you're going to prepare yourself for being able to transition into college and out of college, right?
Yeah.
So it's really about setting up those habits early so you don't have to learn them late. In my case, I had a lot of those habits, and those are instilled by my parents. And sometimes you don't, even as an athlete, you still, even if you have those attributes and habits, it's still hard for you to make the best decisions when you're in college. So just imagine someone who doesn't have those attributes, or haven't had the family structure, or haven't been, exposed to that other side of the spectrum, right? Imagine what they're going through when they get into college, right? And not being able to be successful in school, or being able to be prepared to transition into a university, take advantage of the opportunity, and then transition out, right?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We have some schools that are tough. Like, we have some kids who are in schools that make it really challenging to do well, and then some of them don't have the support system. So even if they're good enough to make it at the next level, they may not actually graduate. And that's the real conversation. Then they spend all this time being an athlete, and they don't know who they are. And then all the people who were supposed to be helping them have bottomed out. So now what do? No, you bring up a really good point.
And I'll just add this real quick. The student athlete, the student is before the athlete, right? In that particular, I guess I would say sentence or
frame.
Right?
Yeah.
Frame. So place onus on the student first before the athletics come, all right? And if you're a great student and you have athletic ability, it'll mesh all together.
Absolutely. And you're going to have more opportunities, so
when
I talk to parents all the time, I encourage them to take care of the classroom, because you'll be able to shop around for schools. If you do well academically, you'll have a lot more options to find a school that's a better fit. So we've talked about high school athletes, we've talked about college athletes and professional athletes. And Malcom, I'm just so thankful that you took out the time to chat with me on the podcast. If people want to learn more about you, if parents need advice, if there are some athletes who are about to graduate, transition, and think they have a chance to play in pro, how can they reach you?
You can reach me at malcom.waters at 360professionalsportsimage.com. So 360professionalsportsimage.com. Okay. Also, you can hit us up on Instagram at 360sprting.
Okay.
As well as on Twitter as well, same name.
Awesome. Malcom, thank you so much. I appreciate your time, and I look forward to working with you in the future really soon.
Absolutely.
This is Athletes as Educators.
Thank you for listening to the Athletes as Educators podcast. Connect with me through the Athletes as Educators Facebook page or at Athletes Educate on Instagram. Be sure to subscribe so that you never miss an episode, and go over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star review. For more resources and information about today's podcast, you can check us out at AngelaRLewis.com.